What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined by my co-host, Anthony Rivardo. Today, we're coming at you with a little bit of a 2-for-1 special. We got some news about Ryan Lindgren, the cover, any potential extensions coming up in the next couple days. And then after that, I'll pretty much pass it off to you, Anthony, because you've been grinding some research about the NHL draft, which is tomorrow evening. So we should have a little bit of coverage coming on the channel for that. Not exactly sure what we have planned yet, but we'll figure it out. So stay tuned till tomorrow to see who the Rangers draft in the first round or if they make any trades there. But as far as today's episode goes, we're going to get right into that. But before we do, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss notification. We are this close to hitting 2,000 subscribers. We'll have something very special planned for when we hit that. So please hit that subscribe button. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below and be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. But Anthony, how are you doing today, my friend? And what can you tell me about Ryan Lindgren today?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to have our 2K subscriber special. We've got some plans for that in the works, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun on the channel. So definitely stay tuned to that and smash the subscribe button if you haven't just yet. I'm doing great because I also got my beard trimmed. I'm looking nice. I'm looking fresh. My mustache is looking great. And I'm flying to California today for my birthday this weekend. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Birthday right around free agency every year, so I get a couple presents or a little bit of disappointment on my birthday. It depends how things shake out. But right now, it looks like it's going to shape out pretty nicely for the Rangers. Like, there are a lot of rumors swirling. There are some really interesting ones as well, who they might be targeting, who they might be trading away. We've definitely got some interesting things going on with the Rangers. And today, saw the report that Ryan Lindgren and the Rangers are working on an extension. Of course, Lindgren set to be a restricted free agent this offseason. Only a few more days to get a deal done, but it looks like they're making pretty good progress. It was Frank Saravalli of the Daily Faceoff reported this morning that the Rangers are grinding to get an extension done with Ryan Lindgren, and apparently his initial asking price was rather reasonable. So there's a lot of optimism that they will get a deal done, whether that be short-term or long-term. But yeah, that's pretty exciting. And of course, tomorrow, the NHL draft, a lot of rumors swirling that the Rangers are looking to trade up, make a big splash in the Sphere to make Daddy James Dolan happy, whatever, screw that guy. But they're going to do whatever they can do to make him happy in the Sphere. And sounds like Capo Caco could be on the move in exchange for a move up the draft order. So I definitely am excited to talk about some of the prospects that they could be trading up for. But Eric, Ryan Lindgren, working on an extension with the Rangers. Sounds like they're making some good progress. How are you feeling?
That makes me very happy. You know, I look back to the episode we posted 2 episodes ago now, talking about reports that Trouba and Kakko were on the trade block, which is fine by me still. And then the reports were saying that if the right deal came across Drury's desk, that he'd be comfortable moving on from Lindgren as well. I remember I was very vocal about that in that episode, saying, I don't want to see Lindgren go. Obviously, I think Adam Fox is our best defender. That might be a controversial take upon reading the comments of that. You know, Fox is getting a lot of criticism for his playoff performances recently, which I just do want to say I understand. But I still think Ryan Lindgren is our second best defenseman. I would like to see him be here long term. I know there's a lot of discussion about his injuries. You know, he gets hurt pretty much every season. And I've heard a lot of fans say he's basically on a crash course to becoming the second version of Mark Stahl, which, as long-term viewers know, is a name that I don't like to say. Probably my second least favorite Ranger of all time. But I still like Lindgren. I think he's a very good defensive defenseman. I know before we recorded, we were talking about that, saying he was a stay-at-home defenseman. You know, he stays back, plays the defense, makes the hard hits, and that gives Adam Fox the ability to go up on the ice, produce some points, play on the power play and all that stuff. And if you ever need a big hit from a guy or a lockdown D, you can count on Ryan Lindgren to do that. You know, Jacob Trouba, not the best decision maker on the team. Ryan Lindgren, he's up there as one of the best decision makers on the team. Maybe number one. There is Panarin, but I'm very excited to see that they are grinding to extend Lindgren. And the fact that the price is going to be somewhat reasonable, that does make me very excited. I know in the article you wrote today, if it's a 1-year deal, it was just like a little over $3 million. If it's a long-term deal, a little over $4 million. So you know what? Why not? 7-year deal, sign him for $4 million. It's a very, very cheap deal for a very solid defenseman. He doesn't score a lot of points, but he plays great defense. So makes me very happy to see that we're really working hard to keep him around.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like you've mentioned, Ryan Lindgren, we love the term for him, stay-at-home defenseman. He's really good on the defensive side of things, not necessarily the biggest contributor on the offensive side of the ice, but he doesn't need to be. He is a really good decision maker, like you said, and I love the pairing of him and Adam Fox, and it's one that I want to keep going for the long haul. I don't want to shake it up. I don't want to move that pairing or break them apart and find a new defenseman to pair with Adam Fox. I like Lindgren and Fox. I think we all do, and I think we all can agree that that's the one that should be around long term. And Lindgren only being 26 years old, I mean, why not keep him around? This is a Rangers team that, as I've said, needs to find ways to get younger, but strategically, not blow it all up and rebuild and make it a young team with potential for down the line. They still need to have their core talents like Panarin and Zibanejad and Kreider, but those guys are aging, and some of the other players on this team are as well. And where they have young talent, it's very important that they retain that young talent in my mind, like Alexis Lafreniere, who they need to sign to an extension ASAP. I know that there's been reports that that's not going to happen this offseason, but next offseason they're planning on getting something done. Alexis Lafreniere, Ryan Lindgren, two young players who are very good for the Rangers right now, and there's no reason why they can't be even better in the next 2 to 5 years. So for Ryan Lindgren, I think this should be a high priority move for the Rangers to extend him. And like you mentioned, reasonable offers on the table, whether it's long term at around 4 to 4.5 million AAV, or if it's a short term 1 year deal at around 3.2 million AAV. Either one, fine with me. I would prefer long term, just lock him in right now, keep him with the Rangers for life, basically. But if they go short term, that also does give them some flexibility going into next offseason, depending on how this championship window goes with another year under the belts of some of these big stars. But I'd prefer to keep him around, lock him down long term. I think that the Rangers should try and get a long term deal done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I have to agree that I like the idea of a long-term deal. And then, it just clicked in my head because of his age. He's 26 years old, so he hasn't even entered his prime yet. I know there are a lot of people have different opinions on what they consider to be like the prime age range. For me, I think like from like 28 to like 32 is when you're playing your best hockey. And if right now the Rangers are able to extend Lindgren for 7 years, that contract will expire when he's 33. So, at that point, you don't have to worry about having a guy locked up on your team for a couple of years who's too old. It's going to end right as he's exiting his prime. He's had a good tenure with the Rangers. And then at that point, you can just decide from there if you want to extend him to like another 1 or 2 year contract, or if his career is starting to decline, that's when you let him go. But, like we have contracts on this team that look really good right now, like the Vincent Trocheck one, but he's locked up till he's like 37. So if Trocheck starts to decline at any point, we're kind of screwed. That wouldn't be the case if we extend Lindgren to a long-term deal. So the fact that it's a team-friendly contract, it's speculated to be, at least I should say, and the fact that he's so young and one of our most talented defensemen, I will say, lock up Lindgren long-term. I think you'd be foolish not to, unless, there's another team out there that's willing to give up one of their top players and then they want Lindgren. So, at that point, that's when you would maybe make a trade because we have a solid defensive prospects pool. But honestly, top priority right now before the draft should be lock up Lindgren and then worry about the rest of our problems moving forward. But I'm glad to see that we're both in agreement there. Hopefully Lindgren stays around, but let's transition over to the draft, which is tomorrow evening. As we said before, Rangers currently hold the 30th overall pick. There is some rumors that they might be willing to trade up in the draft. Kako might be a part of that. I don't even think we need to dive into that. We're both in agreement. It's fine if we get rid of Kako. But a couple guys who might be worth trading up for. And I know one of them has a Russian name that we're definitely going to mispronounce. So if there's any like fans out there who are like weirdly like big on this guy and are like, I love him, he's my favorite prospect, do not crucify us in the comments. We understand we say it wrong, but talk to me about them.
Yeah, first and foremost, fair warning. Oh dear. Fair warning. I don't know how to say this guy's name. I'm not good at pronouncing Russian names, so I'm probably going to butcher this one, but bear with me. Listen to the analysis of the player and let us know what you think about that. But of course, like you said, the draft is tomorrow night. A lot of rumors swirling that the Rangers might try to trade up. Kako could be involved in that trade. Rangers picking number 30. If they want to land a really nice prospect, they're going to have to move up. Anybody that they get at 30 is going to be very developmental. But there are some prospects that make sense and fit what the Rangers need, but they do have to move up in order to acquire those guys, like this player that I want to discuss, a Russian player, Anton Saleyev is how I'm going to say the name, and I'm not 100% sure if that's right. He's the number 7 ranked prospect, according to Elite Prospects, in this draft class. And what I love about him, size and physicality. 6'7", 207 pounds, just an absolute beast. And here's a scouting report from Elite Prospects. Silayev's a giant defenseman with the skating ability to cover any area of the ice in the blink of an eye. His form is perfect, and whether you look at his posture, the flexibility through his ankles, knees, and hips, or the overall output, with that explosive skating stride comes a vast defensive range and a willingness to activate into the play. And when I look at what the Rangers need and I consider the changes that they might be making this offseason, I kind of weigh the pros and cons here, kind of go through the two options of adding to the defensive core or adding to the offensive core. And I think that's kind of what I want to ask you, Eric. Obviously, I'll like to hear your take on Anton here, but at the same time, I think that it's worthwhile discussion to discuss which of the two facets of the game should the Rangers prioritize. And for me, looking at this prospect pool that we currently have, it's headlined by 2-star forwards, right? We've got Gabe Perreault and we've got Brennan Othman, 2 great wing prospects. But the defensive prospects, and Sakura is also another great prospect, but the defensive prospects don't stand out nearly as much. So if the Rangers are going to trade up, and we'll talk about a few forwards as well, but if they are going to trade up, I lean more towards going after a defensive player. I think that bringing in a young defenseman who can develop, and to the credit of the Rangers, I think they've done a better job developing their defenseman prospects than their offensive prospects in recent years. And I know we kind of discussed that in a recent episode with Colin, but I like what the Rangers could find here for some of these defensive prospects, not just Silayev, but there's also Charlie Ellick, an 18-year-old from Canada, who's pretty good. He's quick. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but another intriguing prospect. And so I like both of these guys, but I do kind of want to ask you the more general question, Eric, about offense, defense. What do you prioritize here if you're Chris Drury? For me, I'm probably leaning towards going after a nice defenseman prospect.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement because I'm trying to think about our prospects pool. You know, obviously we have the offensive studs in Brennan Othman, Gabe Perreault. They're both wingers. I think we're pretty set on centers. I think Bryce McConnell-Barker is a center. Sakura, I don't remember what position he plays, but he plays offense. And then, you know, the fact that I could just name that many offensive prospects off the top of my head is a good sign. I don't know if I can name any defensive prospects right away. And like, do we count Zach Jones? He's on the NHL roster still, so I would say probably not. So yeah, I think prioritizing defense might be the better move. Knowing the Rangers and Chris Drury is just going to go pick like a goalie or something, like something really stupid. But if I were the GM, I would be looking at a defenseman with my first round pick. I can lock in that opinion. As far as Anton goes, we know how to say Anton, so we're just going to stick with that. He sounds very intriguing, you know, a big physical defenseman. Look at our offensive core right now and all the criticisms that they've received. Adam Fox, he's a great point scorer, but sometimes his defensive play is a little questionable. He's on the smaller side, doesn't really bring any physicality. Neither does Schneider, neither does Zach Jones. Miller's huge, but he never hits anyone. So it's like he's wasting his size. Really, the only big physical defenseman we have is Jacob Trouba. And who knows what's going to happen with him. You know, his future is questionable. Yeah, hopefully. But so, yeah, the idea of bringing in a bigger physical defenseman, I like that because Lindgren plays solid physical D, but he's pretty small. He gets thrown around a lot. That's why he's always injured. So I like the idea of bringing in Anton, and I wouldn't hate it at all. I think it'd be a solid pick. You said he's ranked number 7, right?
Yeah, he's ranked number 7, so trading up for him would not be easy. You're talking Capo Caco, the number 30 pick, and probably a bit other bit of. That's possible. See, that I would be into. Like, if you can move off Trouba and then bring in a defensive prospect, obviously then you're still going to have to sign a defenseman in free agency to immediately play. But the Rangers have been eyeing that market already. Chris Tanev is somebody that we know they have on their radar, and there's a few others. So moving off of Trouba on draft night and Kako potentially to move up, draft a stud defenseman who maybe makes his NHL debut not this season, but maybe next or the following, plus also bringing in a veteran in the meantime. I don't know. That makes sense to me. Whereas bringing in another forward, again, you kind of went through some of the top prospects here, and I just pulled up the top 19 prospects according to The Athletic at the start of last season. Perreault, Othman, Brett Berard, you've got Adam Sikora. I mean, you have to go down all the way to number 8 to finally get to a defenseman on this prospect pool for the Rangers. Again, this is before the season started, so like Will Cooley's in there as well, but I don't know. The Rangers don't really have a ton of defensive prospects to get excited about. And I think that because they're probably moving off of Trouba and, Lindgren's future could end up being a short-term deal that he signs this offseason, and then you don't know what his future is past 2025. So I think that bringing in more defensive talent just makes a lot of sense for the Rangers. And I like this Anton kid. I like that other kid, the Canadian one that I mentioned, Charlie Ellick. He's number 17 ranked, so they wouldn't have to trade up as far for him. But I guess a pretty good segue question is, Eric, are you willing to sacrifice a lot to trade up and get a prospect? Or maybe, I guess, to kind of harken back to what Colin's been saying, you'd probably rather trade away assets for an instant impact star than trade up in the draft for a prospect?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd be fine with like making a big splash, like trading that far up. But yeah, I'm still I would prefer to win now. I've made that very clear. I'm more on Colin's side about that. Like, I want to focus on the future, but my main priority is the now. As far as the number 7 overall pick goes, that is one of the few picks that I know exactly what team has it, because it's the Ottawa Senators, and I've heard some rumors and like seeing that they are more than willing to hear offers on it. And if they're like, yeah, the Rangers would have to give up a lot, but maybe tomorrow night we see some like crazy blockbuster move where, Brady Tkachuk, the captain of the Senators, the Rangers are apparently interested in. I've heard the Senators don't want to get rid of him, but like maybe Drury can work some magic. Jacob Chychrun is a defenseman on Ottawa who I haven't seen any reports that we're interested in, but it's a name that a lot of fans really want. I've seen a lot of our viewers commenting his name. So, maybe something crazy happens tomorrow night where we go like Cabo Kako, the 30th overall pick, Jacob Trouba, and like Brennan Othman for like the number 7 pick, and Jacob Chychrun. So like you're getting a pick for the future, and you're also getting a solid defenseman to replace Trouba. I wouldn't want to give up a lot just for the pick, but maybe there's going to be some huge deal that's put in place, or I don't know. It's like this, it sounds ridiculous, but this time in the NHL season, like something crazy always happens, and maybe we're the ones that do it this year. So I don't know. I'd be okay with giving up a couple pieces, but like don't accidentally end this current cup window to like build too much for the future. So I like the idea of possibly trading up. Maybe we just trade Mika Zibanejad for the first overall pick and just make San Jose agree to it. And then we can get Celebrini.
I don't think that's going to happen. That seems like the most unlikely and most far-fetched scenario that we've ever pitched on the channel.
Let me hear me out real quick, right? Also, I'm going to be very sarcastic here. I have to make that very clear. I saw a post on Instagram that was like joking about how Drury must have some dirt on San Jose's GM because they just willingly took Barclay Goodrow's entire contract, and then like a couple days later, the Sharks GM made Detroit give them a second-round pick to take on one of their contracts. So it's like, what happened there? What did Drury do to just make San Jose just willingly take Goodrow? But then they forced Detroit to pay them to take one of their players. Who knows what's going on over there in GM land? But I don't know.
Well, San Jose is also just a bad team that's poorly ran, so that might be kind of the answer to all the questions here, and probably why Mika Zibanejad would absolutely not move his waive his clause to get moved to San Jose. But no, you do bring up a lot of good points, though, in general about the Rangers. you can't sacrifice your opportunity to win in this cup window right now just to get some prospects for the future. So I wouldn't give up too much for a potential move, even though those two prospects that we mentioned on the defensive side are exciting. I think that more realistically, the Rangers make a smaller move up in the draft order. But I don't know, because there's a lot of rumors saying that the Rangers want to make a splash on draft night. Like Dolan is making that a point to make a splash in the Sphere. It's a big deal for him, apparently. And we know how his ego is. We know he's a maniac. We know that he's going to want to move up. But generally speaking, I don't think that's good practice for the Rangers. However, there are a couple forward prospects that we can also discuss. Again, we're probably leaning towards going after a defensive prospect, but there's also Liam Greentree. He's a Canadian prospect. He's 6'2". He's a winger. He put up 90 points in the OHL last season in 64 games, 36 goals and 54 assists. And he's described as being a really good playmaker. He scans, registers his options and obstacles that would keep him from getting the puck, according to elite prospects. 6'2". I don't know. He could be kind of one of those power forwards to bring some more physicality. Maybe you combine him on the wing with Rempe in the center and just let them go mash some heads in a couple of years. That might be a lot of fun and exciting for the Rangers, but we do need some more physicality in our offensive line. So I guess going after a physical forward like Greentree could be an intriguing option.
Yeah, a physical playmaker is it's like a weird combo. It's kind of like a paradox where like you wouldn't expect someone of like that size to be able to make like nifty passes like that. You know, it kind of sounds like, what if like Artemi Panarin was just huge and not like really short and just like a little Russian baby? Like, so I don't know. Like, it could be interesting because you have to look at it from the perspective of like, we don't really need a playmaker right now. Like, we have guys that can do that, but we're not going to have guys that do that like 5 years from now. You know, Panarin, as much as we love him, 5 years from now, I don't know if he's still going to be with the Rangers. His contract is definitely going to be up by then. I don't know if we're going to re-sign him or anything. So you got to think towards the future. I look at a guy like Brennan Othman. Yeah, I feel like he's more of like a sniper. Gabe Perreault is kind of like a playmaker, I would assume, but it couldn't hurt to have more than one. I like this Greentree kid. Sounds good, and I'd be more than happy if we drafted him. I'm still stuck on the defense thing. Like, I don't know if we need that many more forwards. What was he ranked?
He was ranked number 12. So again, the Rangers would probably have to move up a decent amount to go ahead and get him. But he brings that power that the Rangers are lacking in their offensive core. And, you know, in a couple of years' time, if he makes his way up into the NHL and can bring some of that grit, that might be pretty important. But I will also throw out, I have one more prospect that I did keep an eye on. He's the number 22 ranked prospect, so the Rangers probably wouldn't have to move up or sacrifice nearly as much to get up and get this kid, Ryder Ritchie. And he sounds like he fits the mold of a Rangers forward, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. He's 6 foot, 176 pounds. He's only 17 years old, so give him some time to add some weight, and I hope that he does. But this is like a real playmaker. He's like very quick and shifty on the ice and likes to make some really nice passes. His prospect report on Elite Prospects is really exciting. I'll read this blurb. Just when opponents think they figured him out, he cuts back and finds the trailer. His shot in particular is a constant threat. There are 0 tells inside his release, transferring his weight suddenly and hiding his blade the whole time. He adapts to tricky passes and instantly fires them, even under pressure. So they describe him as being kind of like a sniper, but again, another winger. 44 points in 47 games in the WHL this last season. Again, only 17 years old, so probably not making an impact in the NHL anytime soon, but does fit the mold of what the Rangers like in their forwards.
He sounds very talented to me. If I'm Drury, however, you know, the fact that he's ranked 22 and we have 30, that's like one of those things where I might just, for him, I would just wait. Like, keep your 30th overall pick, and if he happens to still be on the board by the time it gets to us, that's when we take him. I don't know if he would be worth trading up for, but we'll see. Like that's not a trade I would give Capo Caco up for. The number 7 pick, the number 12 pick, yeah, but to move up just that little, I would just kind of keep what I have, hope he falls a little bit. Kind of like Gabe Perreault. Gabe Perreault is expected to go extremely high in the draft, and he just like the teams just kept picking, and the next thing you know, it landed on the Rangers in like the mid-20s range, and we got a superstar for it. So that's kind of what I would do for him. I think I'm still leaning towards we need a defenseman. I'm open to taking a forward, but I would prefer a defenseman. If it's a reasonable increase in the draft order, sure, man, go make a big trade, Jury. Do what you got to do. But if you're only going to move up 8 picks, like it's not like football where like moving up 1 or 2 picks could be like a huge difference maker. Like these things are going to fluctuate up and down the entire night. This kid could end up going at number 7. He could also end up going in like the 3rd round. NHL draft's kind of weird. I'm only moving up if it's for a very large jump. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, knowing the Rangers, we're just going to go take like a goalie or something that like makes no sense. Like this always happens. I will say, I remember when we drafted Philip Hedl, I was just sitting on my couch. And I was just like, who? Like, I was like, who is this? Like, what? But, obviously it worked out. So maybe I'm just really bad at analyzing draft prospects. So
Yeah, and I won't claim to be any type of expert at this either. Definitely not. But I know that these are 4 prospects that you and I identified on elite prospects that kind of look to fit the mold of what the Rangers like. And if they do end up making a trade up, since these guys are ranked kind of highly, we do like these guys as potential targets, think that they are worth knowing their names at the very least and keeping an eye on. Of course, we have our fan favorite prospect that we want to fall to the Rangers at 30. You already know that is Boston College product, Dean Letourneau. Big 6'7" beast of a forward in that Rempy mold. And yeah, probably falling to the Rangers at 30 as well, which is an ideal scenario. You don't even have to move up to still get a very talented prospect. That's who I like. And because of Dean Letourneau, I probably want the Rangers to just stick and pick because I really like him. But yeah, there's a lot of intrigue around the Rangers potentially moving up. So figured it was probably good to discuss some of the prospects that they could be targeting and, look ahead to tomorrow's draft, which should be an exciting one. And I'm definitely excited to give our takes and reactions and analysis on the channel whenever the picks are made.
Yeah, I do. See, I still think Dean Letourneau is my favorite. If you're watching this video and you're like, who? We have a video a little while back, a couple of videos ago, and we're huge on this guy. He's a massive power forward, and I would love to see the Rangers draft him. Shout out Statboy Steven for putting that in my brain. It hasn't left. And whatever team like drafts him, if it's not us, I will be watching them as well next year because Letourneau wouldn't be in the league, but I'll be following them and their prospect pools. But yeah, the draft's tomorrow. Very exciting time. Then free agency just kicks off right away. There's no room to breathe at this stage of the NHL offseason. But unless you have any final thoughts, we're good.
I'm good to go. I mean, like I said, I think it's going to be really exciting tomorrow. We'll have our instant analysis and reaction on whoever the Rangers draft, but it's definitely going to be a really hectic next few days for the Rangers. A lot of players on the trade block, a lot of intrigue around players in the league that the Rangers seemingly want to target, whether that be Trevor Zegras, whether that be Jake Gensel, or Patrick Kane. The Kane saga never ends, and I know Eric is fully on the Kane bandwagon once again. I don't think I'm with him on that one.
That. I just like Kane. I understand that he's not what we need, but I like Kane. I like him.
I think quick tangent. I think he's what we need for the right price in the right role, but thinking that he's the solution on the first line this upcoming season to combine with Zibanejad and Kreider, I don't see it. If we can fit him into a third line role, I don't know that. Yeah, that could be intriguing. But then what's the price tag? I've seen that he wants like a 3-year deal with a lot of money attached to it, and there's a lot of teams that are interested. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far. I don't want him to have a contract that extends and expires past the upcoming expiration dates of like Zibanejad and Kreider. You get what I'm saying? The core should all expire at the same time. This core's contracts should not expire before a potential Patrick Kane contract. You get what I'm saying? Like it needs to be a short-term deal if they're going to bring in Kane.
Exactly. So here's my thing. We're just continuing the Kane tangent. Like he's obviously not the solution to the first line. You need a guy like Jake Gensel or like a bigger power forward. I think Kane would be fine on the third line. And it sounds ridiculous because I doubt Patrick Kane would ever just like accept a bottom 6 role. But like Cooley, Hedl, Kane, sounds kind of cool. But I don't know, like whenever we talk about Kane, I have to like walk on my tippy toes because it's a very controversial subject that I know people are very vocal about. Like I've seen comments on recent videos that we've made that say like they wouldn't even sign Kane to like a 1-year league minimum deal, which is like $700K. I'm like, really? You're not going to sign a 3-time Stanley Cup winner, multiple Hart Trophy winner for $700,000? Like people hate Kane. Like,
I know some people really do. I'm glad that we're kind of like shoehorning this topic in at the end of this episode, so maybe not everybody has the opportunity to flame us for it, but
not
we do
everyone's
now have
still here 30 minutes in.
somebody's definitely here typing some furious comments right now watching
I'm
this.
gonna
But
I'm gonna put it in the Kane playlist now.
I was just about to say we now have to add this episode to the Patrick Kane playlist on the channel. It's part of the Patrick Kane saga, so that's another fun takeaway from this one.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's today. June 27th is today. In 4 days from now, we might be making breaking news. Rangers signed Patrick Kane to an 8-year deal worth $10 million AAV, and that entire
wouldn't
video,
that be something?
It'll just be me sobbing in the corner, just like bye Lafreniere, bye Igor.
Oh dear.
But yeah, we gotta end this tangent. That about wraps up today's episode of Fireside Rangers. Like we talked about earlier, we'll have some instant draft reactions coming at you. If tomorrow night, possibly, if not tomorrow night, first thing the following morning. But if you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, you subscribe so we can hit 2,000 subscribers and we can finally make that special. And honestly, I lost my train of thoughts. At Fireside Rangers, comments, thoughts. Have a good one. Let's go Rangers.